Party people, and the place to be. What's going on? It's me. If it's Sunday, it must be time for another long overdue movie review. This long overdue movie review is Planet Hulk. Apparently I should have watched this about 11 years ago or so, but I'm watching it right now. Spoiler-free section, of course, obviously, before we get to any of the spoiler-ish things. In terms of production of this one, this is one of those animated movies strictly made for animation, although it does at times come off like it's trying to trying to be like a backdoor pilot or something for a show. I didn't find any references to a show based off of it, so we're gonna go with it didn't land. But in terms of the animation style and the fight choreography and such, it is a more adult fare. There's no real rating system on it. Oh, TV-14. So it is a bit more adult fare. There's blood, different colored blood because we're dealing with aliens. There's blood, there's violence, there's deaths in this one. Not any cursing, but there's definitely more of an adult fare to it. And actually, apparently this was like a straight-to-video release, so it doesn't appear like there was ever like a TV show that was supposed to go with it. The animation was fine, I suppose. It felt like a TV show, though. If you remember the X-Men cartoon, where they were all high schoolers in the early 2000s, that was the animation feel that I got off of this, aside from the more violent nature of it. That was the more... That is like a kids WB show, a good kids WB show, but a kids WB show. You know what I mean? Like a good season of Batman Beyond or a good season of Batman the Animated Series, but a TV show animation style is what I got from it. The story was lacking a bit for me, and we'll go into that when we get into spoilers, which will be pretty soon. So I'm going to take my sip before we dip into spoiler territory. Go ahead and fast forward to the timestamp you see across my lovely, lovely moneymaker. It's not the worst cocktail I've ever made, but it ain't the best either. Alright, so this movie is basically Hulk is a gladiator. This is basically Hulk is a gladiator, which I think was the Thor Ragnarok story. I didn't watch all of Thor Ragnarok. I think I watched like the very, very beginning of it. Like I remember the Anthony Hopkins scene, but I don't remember much else about Thor Ragnarok. So I may have to go back and actually watch Thor Ragnarok. And Hulk was in that one. But this was Hulk is sent to another planet by the Avengers. They can't stand him anymore. He's too rageful. I don't know if this was supposed to be a sequel to another movie, etc., etc. But he was sent off to another planet. With just vegetation and no intelligent life, according to what I think it was Tony Stark was trying to tell him in the communication on the shuttle that he was sent on. He goes into a rage, diverts the tracking system of it, and ends up going through a wormhole into another planet where they take him as a slave to work in the gladiator field, and he's so good in it that eventually he's got to get his freedom. Is essentially the movie. He's sold after the first battle, which you know, in terms of the story is the weakest. Like the story is the weakest part of this whole thing. It's the very weak. It's like they just planted Hulk in just another gladiator flick. Like, as a matter of fact, I think there was another one. Fuck, was that Pompeii? Was that shitty movie Pompeii that I saw that had another? It was. That had the very similar plot. Instead of somebody falling from a planet, they took a gladiator from the actual times, and then they fought in the Colosseum like a day or two before Pompeii exploded, and that particular gladiator was in love with the girl, and their final image was them kissing as the volcanic ash came over them, like some really cheap horseshit. It was that same... It's the same shit. It's the same shit. Hulk is in that role now. He's got to fight his way to freedom. It's that exact same shit. Lazy. Super fucking lazy. And I know, it's from a graphic novel. Well, that graphic novel must have been super fucking lazy then too. Because this shit Super fucking lazy, and I don't give a shit. Hulk has to fight his way out, but he's with a team of ragamuffins. They all got sold into slavery together at the same time. They all got to fight their way out at the same time. And they're in a cave, and we get to hear the backstories of 2.5 of them. And I say 2.5 of them because they actually say they congregate over somebody who died in battle, and they hold their fists over them. And this is you shall know my truth now. And we hear the story of one of them. We hear the story of another one. We hear the story of the little Jar Jar Binks type one, except this one can actually fight. And isn't in the movie as much and isn't as annoying as Jar Jar Binks, but he's very Jar Jar Binksian. He's very Binksian in his delivery. He's a little ant. He's very Binksian. So he tries to tell it, but everybody else wants to go first, and Hulk ends up falling asleep. And they end up fighting, and they're fighting in front of the Red King. The Red King, who is told to have been the savior of the planet. Anybody with having brain cells know he's not the savior of the planet. It's going to be Hulk that's going to be the savior of the planet. Yada, yada, yada. Hulk is mad. He sees the king, and he's the one, and he's like, now I know who I'm going to fight. He tries to fight him. The king's lieutenant stops him, and they have a tussle, and the king gets in his armor, which is very reminiscent of the armor Arthur wore in King Arthur and the Knights of Justice. Every time I saw him, I was like, that's King Arthur. That's King Arthur's armor in King Arthur and the Knights of Justice. I remember that show. Do you remember that show? Ask your parents, kids. I'm sure there are episodes on YouTube. I am King Arthur, and we are the Knights of Justice. We pledge fairness to all, to protect the weak, and vanquish the evil. And had a dope-ass theme song. Oh, look that shit up. It was fucking fantastic. That was my Sunday mornings. Anyway, very reminiscent. Hulk, he's got a thing on his chest that helps him understand everybody around him. It's a universal translator thing. That's how they get around all these different aliens being able to speak to each other. It's like they knew that there were gaps in the story. They knew that they were telling a kind of rushed bullshit, a whole lot of plot holes story, and they put in little things. Like, it's like, okay, they're universal communicators, fine, whatever. Like, somebody told them, and they went ahead and they added this stuff in. I guess, but it's clearly patchwork. It's clearly logical patchwork that they're putting through, as opposed to actually thinking out these processes and thinking out what these things mean and how they conflict with each other, etc., etc. Hulk really doesn't want to be there and doesn't care about anything else that's going on, and that is the biggest way I identify with Hulk in this movie, aside from the Banner last name and you wouldn't like me if I'm angry. Hell, most people don't like me in any sense, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I agreed with Hulk on this one. I'm like, I don't really care. Like, and it's not necessarily the character's faults, because they're not unlikable. Even though the lieutenant at the end, she gets a redemption arc, and it turns out that she was double-crossed by the king, who really just used her to protect himself from. It didn't even really go into that. But he essentially, these alien spike things came out, these little mite things, and anytime they bit any of the people on her planet, they turned into these grotesque monsters that just wanted to kill, and basically zombies. And she ended up having to kill her entire family because they all turned into zombies, but she had this old blood or whatever that protected her. And the king said he needed her for that, but he was the one that released him in the first place, and then they released him again, and so she felt that she was betrayed, and so she joins the Ragamuffin team as they decide that they're going to kill the king. And they finally get to the king, this final battle. The king's King Arthur suit is broken apart by the Hulk, and he relinquishes himself, and he's like, I'm not actually going to kill you. That's not my job. And he leaves it to the lieutenant, and the lieutenant says, that's not my job either. But she releases a spike onto the king. He becomes these spike monsters, and then his minions kill him. And somewhere along the way, we see Thor, because I guess it's... I don't care. Things I don't care about, things I don't care about. Which is most of this movie. The fighting scenes are really good. Again, there's blood in it. There's definitely death in it. You see the death of different creatures. Not children, but definitely different creatures. Although you do technically children. So the lieutenant, she's trying to protect this little girl. And the king sends his robots to burn all the spike people, and the lieutenant's holding the little girl in her hand, and she's trying to run away. And as she's running away, we see that the little girl is actually Ash, and she blows away in the lieutenant's arms. So that's what you see. And the blood of the Hulk heals the ground. Apparently, the blood of the Hulk, as it's dropping in battle, little sprigs of the plants come up where the Hulk's gamma ray blood came from, and that's how they know that he's the real savior of the planet and not the actual Red Dead King, who's really the evil person that was also foretold in the prophecies, etc., etc. I don't care. I really don't care. The action scenes, like I mentioned, were fine for a Saturday afternoon cartoon. I can't imagine paying anything more than $5 in terms of buying this DVD for any real purpose. It felt, like I mentioned, like they were trying to start, like they were trying to do a backdoor pilot because they were introducing all these different characters, because they realized that they put Hulk on an entirely different planet. He now seems to be running around with a team against certain enemies and plots to escape, etc., etc., and he's trying to grow these bonds with these different people. So it feels like a pilot, like they're trying to do a pilot. It's just not particularly eye-catching in terms of the animation, in terms of the style, in terms of the action scenes. They don't necessarily grab you. Maybe I'm a little callous because I saw Invincible already, and this ain't no Invincible. This ain't no Invincible. In any sense of the term. In animation, the characters, the bonds that you have with the characters. I don't really bond with most of these characters, except for Hulk, in that I don't care about any of them, and I'm just trying to go home. So, in that vein of the Hulk, we will send everybody here home with a rating out of $15. Planet Hulk, 2010, is worth... I don't want to give it the low $5. Like I mentioned, I wouldn't pay more than $5 as a DVD. And the scale is out of $15 because that's how much you would rate it as an actual film. It's a little under an hour and a half. It's feature length-ish, I guess. Out of 15, would I change it much? Not much, honestly. I'd say maybe 6 out of 10. 6 out of 15. 6 out of $15. Just as scaling it for the expansion to a $15 thing, it's not particularly good. It's not particularly bad either. So $6.50. I'll give it $6.50. It's not particularly bad. Like I mentioned, it's a Saturday morning cartoon pilot. I don't want a Saturday morning I don't want a full-length Saturday morning cartoon pilot. That's not good. This isn't particularly good enough to warrant that. And it's certainly not particularly... If you're going to do this, then you better compel me with the characters and everybody else involved. And I'm just as detached from them as Hulk would be, let alone watching this every week for any extended period of time. I'm just as detached as Hulk is here in the beginning. I don't particularly care. Now, if you wanted to... There are different ways they could have done this without the Hulk. If you wanted to do this whole planet thing and make it the story about the actual the actual other characters there and develop their own thing, maybe that works a little bit better. You can detach it from the Hulk because they're then encompassed in their own world, and you don't have this interloper coming from the outside that you already know. Maybe the story is this creature that comes down, and you're trying to get to know and figure out that creature along with the characters. I already know Hulk is a quote-unquote good guy. Everybody already knows that as they're watching this. So maybe that's part of it, but it just doesn't click enough to do any higher than $6.50 for me, dog. I'm sorry, it doesn't click enough. Party people, tell me how correct I am, because you know I am. Tell me just how right your favorite YouTuber is in the comment section. I need you to like, I need you to share. You can subscribe too, but I need you to like, and I need you to share more importantly, because I'm your favorite YouTuber. I need everybody to know that, including everybody in your inner circle. You can also support. There are links in the description to help you be able to support. Also, I do a podcast with my homeboy Trey every Thursday. It's called the How Do We Even Get Here podcast. There are links in the descripciones. If you don't want to go through the links and you just want to go on your podcasting device, feel free to do that too. Just look up How Do We Even Get Here and you'll find us. Ding! I'm not going to add that in post. Ding! In the meantime, in between time, Hulk smash this drink. Well, maybe not smash. It's allowed to drink. I'm gonna drink it though. Cheers.
I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice place, with a nice smile on my nice face. Turn it back and I'm making sure my night's straight. And when you're out of town, I'll be making sure your wife's straight.